What is going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and haven't been called a CGC shill for like, I don't know, 2 weeks. So I figured I will make this video and I will probably be called one in the comments, but I felt like this was a pretty important topic. I've mentioned that I've been seeing a lot of posts about either newer collectors or newer CGC collectors, that kind of thing recently. And there was this post relatively recently on one of the Facebook groups I'm on. And I mean, it's a lesson in why grading, whether that's CGC, CBCS, future PSA, whatever it is actually something that is important and valuable in the hobby. But also, I mean, some of the really sketchy stuff that goes on out there. And I mean, you'll see what I'm talking about when we get into this. It's actually, I found a little more than I was expecting to with this one that makes it even worse. But let's check this out. And I mean, you'll really see why there is definitely value out there in grading, whether you like it or not. All right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So, I mean, I've got raw books behind me right now. I buy raw books quite a bit. There's always that risk when you're buying raw books, especially the older they get. Like the older they get, the more likely that they have been tampered with at some point in their lifetime. And it can be trimming, color touch, married pieces. If you're not familiar with marrying, it's where you take parts from one book and combine them with another book or more than one book and create either a complete book or a more complete book, whatever it is. I mean, you can have glue on the spine. You can have all kinds of stuff that people do to these books over time. Sometimes it was just little kids doing it when they had the book when they were a kid. They got a crease and they filled it in. Sometimes it's much worse than that. It's dealers specifically doing this kind of thing. Good dealers will check this for you. People can still miss things, but good dealers will check this. They will let you know if something is wrong, but there are also lazy dealers that are out there, lazy sellers that are out there that don't check this stuff. And there are ones that purposefully try to trick you. So this is one of the reasons why I was saying that that's where there is often value in something like grading, because it gives you more confidence in what you're buying. Now, there's some little things with this one that's going to make you laugh with that statement when we get into this. But all right, let's get into this one. So what we're talking about here is this post here that was on the CGC Comics fans Facebook group. And what you can see here is you can see a Fantastic Four, number 48, first appearance of Silver Surfer, first cameo appearance of Galactus. It is a 0.5 restored copy. You got the purple label. And so this person says, I'm new to sending my own books in. I've always bought already slabbed books, bought a raw copy that was supposed to be unrestored and complete. Spent the money to send it into CGC, expecting between a 4.5 and a 5.5 blue label, and it came back as a 0.5 restored grade. Does CGC ever make mistakes? The cover looks super nice. I just don't understand the low grade. And then he actually also provided the grader's notes, and I will tell you right now, CGC did not make a mistake on this. Well, kind of, but maybe, but not on what's going on. Like, this is a 0.5 restored copy of this book. But we'll talk about what I mean with the mistake, maybe. But it says missing interior part page wrap. So it's missing pages 15 and 16, does not affect story. Then there is a wrong page 16 that is married, all three edges trimmed, front cover reglossed, and small amount of color touch on front cover and spine. So a lot. Like, when people talk about Frankensteining books together, like that is what's going on here. I mean, there is a lot going on with this book. Now, one of the things I really don't like seeing is in the comment section, like the number of people that criticize this person. Like, they're basically like blaming this person for this problem. Like, oh, why didn't you count the pages? And it's like, yeah, I say that in my videos all the time. Like, you've got to count the pages. Like, the first thing I do whenever I get a raw book that I bought is count the pages. But if somebody is new to buying raw books like this, they don't know that. That's why I repeat it all the time. I don't blame someone if they didn't think to count the pages, if they trusted who they bought it from. Like this person said they bought it from their friend, and clearly their friend did the same thing. Maybe, hopefully that, they're, because you'll see what I'm talking about in a bit. And their friend did the same thing. A lot of people do that. They go and they buy a book raw. It's in the bag, they show up, they look at it and they're like, oh, great. Put in a box, and then it's done. That, you forget about it. And then they maybe go and sell it later. And then next person gets it. And it's not until you finally get to somebody that either knows what they're doing when they're evaluating a book. I mean, like myself, like I'm checking everything. I would have caught this color touch instantly. I'll show you a closer picture in a bit. But things like that, or they send it in to get graded and then get screwed here. Now, this person, like I said they bought it from a friend. Their friend is going to take it as a return and give him his money back. So he got lucky there. That is not always the case. You buy a book like this at like a show, you're out your money, like whatever you paid. Like this book's still in a 0.5, maybe it's like $300 or something like that in this condition, probably on the higher end, maybe 250 to 300. But I mean, if you were expecting a 4.5 to a 5, you probably paid like 800, 900, maybe more, 1,000. And so this person could have been out quite a bit of money. So the first thing we're going to do, let's jump over to GPA and we'll just take a look. And so this is one of the tools I use to price books, GP analysis, looked up Fantastic Four number 48, and I added in the restored sales here as well. But if we jump down to a 4.5 to a 5.5, you can see like and we're talking about universal copies, 5.0 going for 1,250, 5.5 going for 1,050. So I'd say like 1,100 to 1,200 in that grade, a 4.5 going around 850. So this book probably between 900 and 1,200 in that range. So maybe this person paid 700, 800, something like that. Maybe they got a better deal. Maybe they paid less. But then if you go down to the 0.5 restored, you can see that, I mean, let's see, 0.5 restored. You're not going to have a ton of sales with these. 595, but that was over a year ago. This book has definitely come down some since then. I still think there's a lot going on there, so maybe it's going to hurt a little bit more, but like 350, something like that. Now, the interesting thing is I was looking through these. This really caught my attention. We'll get into this in a moment. I was scrolling through here and I was like, what is that? That sounds almost exactly like this book. Page 1 and 2 married, page 13, 15, 16 missing, wrong, page 16 trimmed, incomplete. So this was a C2 0.5 that sold April of 2022 for $480. So we'll get into that. And this is where I'm talking about some really shady, crappy people that are out there. And that's why you have to be careful. And especially like if you don't know about raws, like start with lower dollar books and learn, and then move to buying higher dollar books if you want. Otherwise, like that's where grading protects you, like at least like, I mean, I'm not saying CGC, CBCS can't make mistakes, but you are way, way, way less likely to get ripped off buying a graded book than buying a raw book. And so first thing we're going to do, this is the book that this person submitted. I had to guess at the numbers because he had a pretty zoomed out picture, and I got lucky and actually got the cert number right because they were pretty blurry. So this one was just graded on October 1st, C2 0.5. And here you can see more detailed, like what the actual notes were. Small amount of color touch on cover, front cover re-glossed, page 13 or 3, 15, 16 missing, wrong, page 16 married, all 3 edges trimmed. So that's all that, stuff that's going on with this book. We can actually get some good pictures of this book now. And you can really easily see some of the color touch. This is the type of stuff that you want to be looking for. So this book has a subscription crease. You can see where somebody filled in that subscription crease with something, whether it's marker or crayon or whatever. Like it's not well done. It's super easy. Since this is a C2, it means it's amateur. It is probably marker, meaning it also very, very likely bled through to the interior of the cover. But if this person, maybe they never took the book out. I mean, for all I know, they just grabbed it and sent it right in. I have heard plenty of people that do that, where they never even take books out of the bag and they'll send it into CGC. And yeah, you can blame them, but some people just like, they're very trusting. And, you know, this type of thing will teach you to not be trusting. I have received enough books that are not as described, that have all kinds of problems, that I don't trust any raw book that I am sent. I check them all. And it's just what you got to do. And but you can see here, like on the subcrease, just extremely obvious color touch on this. You know, it's not the full way down, but you can see the places where it's filled in. I don't know exactly on the spine. It looks like probably here. Like this looks like a pretty, you know, there's something sketchy and weird going on. That feels like that's colored in with like black marker. And I don't know if there's anything else. And even here, maybe a little bit along the watcher. But yeah, I mean, a lot going on this book. Then if we go to the top edge, now trimming, I mean, this one you can kind of tell. It's like, yeah, that really looks like it was trimmed. Like it looks like this was cut with like scissors. The right edge isn't nearly as bad. Like that one's not as obvious. And the bottom edge isn't obvious at all. Now we'll get to the back cover. Back cover is pretty obvious, but trimming is the type of thing that you almost have to have it in hand to really be able to tell, because you look at where what the pages look like too. That's also a big deal with this. But if we then check out the back cover, you can see more of what's going on here. I mean, really, like sometimes this can be like factory cuts, but very unlikely. But really weird, you know, cut there. You can see all this stuff going on the left side, like some, you know, like pages look like they're cut. Like who knows what's going on with this book. Everything is weird with the back cover here. And I mean, just like it's not it doesn't look like a spine roll. It's just everything is strange with this book. But that's at least, you know, getting to see this book. So you can see like close up what you can kind of look for with things like color touch, trimming. Like I said, you really want to see it in hand. Reglossing, you should be able to tell when you like look at it in the light. But the color touch is always the one that you want to check for really quickly. Now, going to the really sketchy part of all of this. So you can see here, this one sounded almost exactly the same, other than this pages 1 and 2 married. So what I did was I went here and I was hoping I could find a picture of it, but there was no picture. I checked old eBay sales because you can see there's no linked sale. Usually if there's a linked sale, it would be to like Heritage or Hakes or Comic Connect or something. If there isn't a linked sale, it's very often eBay. And I went and checked eBay's past sales because I can go back 3 years with their Terapeak research tool, and there was nothing there. But we can at least use the cert number, because what I guessed happened was somebody bought the book, cracked it out, and then sold it to someone. And at some point, someone along the line made the decision not to disclose the restoration. Now, hopefully that's not this person's friend that they bought it from. Hopefully that person got screwed by someone else, you know, that made that poor decision, because it would really suck to have your own friend like rip you off like that. So hopefully that's not the case. But somebody along the line made the decision to crack this book out and then sell it as an unrestored copy, not disclosing it. And the reason we know that for sure, even though the notes are just a little bit different, is because you can see here it says page 1 and 2 married with glue. So that's the thing where I was kind of laughing about like the consistency between stuff, because it seems like maybe the second time they graded it, they missed that. Or this was incorrect the first time, but I'm guessing it's more likely the second time they graded it, they missed it, because there's no mention of glue. There's no mention of these married pages, and glue is pretty obvious, especially with like a black light or something. But the thing that really made me go like, this wasn't just something that's similar, like this is the same book, is that it says subscription crease center of front cover. And so then obviously when we looked at this one right in the middle, like you can see like subscription crease right in the middle. Like these are the same book. This one was just graded. This one was graded back in 2020. And so somebody cracked it out, you know, didn't send the cert back in. Like this is where you get the census can be overinflated sometimes because people don't, you know, send in certs. And because obviously this person was their goal probably was to rip someone off, not to not to correct or make sure the CGC census was correct. But like I said, we can't make that. It's not guaranteed. Like the first person that bought it, they may have cracked it out and they may have disclosed it to the next person. Like, yeah, this is restored. They may have even had the label in there with it or something. And then, you know, at some point, somebody made that decision. And we've seen that before. We had that Suspense 3 that was originally a CBCS 0.5, like a huge Suspense 3 is a huge book, like a huge book. It was, I mean, I can show you the book. So if we go check out, because let's see, can't remember, was it restored or qualified? I don't know, but we'll look up Suspense number 3. And this is a book I've talked about before. It's Alex Schomburg book, really expensive book, super popular book. It was this one right here. So this one that sold on Heritage, a 1.0 qualified, that has you can see on the cover here, cover and centerfold are married. So what had happened with this book was that it was originally up on Heritage as a 1.0 universal. And then somebody noticed that a CBCS 0.5 had sold that had this exact same cover that was incomplete. And now all of a sudden you had a complete copy that's a universal. And so clearly what someone did at some point is they married parts together to get a complete copy. And you can see here, and CGC missed it. And then it came back as universal. And so when that person got it back, they didn't correct CGC. Like when I got back my Superman 2 and they didn't identify that the cover was married, I sent it back in and corrected it because I'm not a piece of garbage. So somebody that gets the book back and they don't catch that, and then you're just like, it's fine. I'm just going to sell it like this because now I can make more money. Like that's what that person did. That's the decision somebody made at some point with this book the first time it came back. But it got called out, it got pulled, and then it got resent into CGC and they graded it properly. And so that's, like people do this stuff when it comes to money. Like you just like people will rip you off. And so you really do have to, keep an eye out for this kind of thing. And if you are not comfortable with identifying color touch, restoration, trimming, all this kind of stuff, and you want to get into buying raw books, you've got to learn. You got to either watch resources online. There's tons of them out there. Like ETA Nick, I've talked about him before. He's got resources, videos he made where he talks about this stuff. And that's how you learn to catch these situations. And so that you reduce your likelihood of getting screwed. Like it still can happen. Like people can miss things. I've sent stuff in that I missed color touch on before and I got a purple label back. Usually when it's something I'm not totally certain about, I'll send it in just to make sure. But yeah, I mean, it happens, but be careful. This is just one of the worst ones I've ever seen though. Like there's so much going on with this book, and but just a perfect example of you got to be careful and the value that does come with grading. Like I said, like clearly there's a difference in grading here. It still had the C2 and the 0.5, but it's just like the restoration notes are different. So someone second time around grading probably missed something, but I mean, grand scheme of things, does it matter that much? I mean, it does. Like you want to get that right, but like it's like there's so much going on with this book, already that, who knows, but hopefully enjoyed this video, got something out of it. I mean, I'm just trying to make these types of videos to hopefully help people out to avoid getting, caught with a bad situation like this. If it makes me a CGC shill, so be it. But I do, like, even though they've got their issues, I'm still not sending stuff in. I still don't, like, I've heard about new things with Bananagate. So I'm still waiting on sending stuff in, but I do still think these services provide value if they could just get out of their own way, it seems, and stop, having these like issues that keep coming up. But yeah, hopefully enjoyed this video. If you did, so hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one.